welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the PondCast. So the PondCast week number 55, episode number 55. I'm Coach Side VIP. With me, I'm joined by our lovely producer Kura in the background, and also by the people in the chat as well. Welcome, one and all, to our weekly talk show where we talk all things StarCraft. There's a lot to get into here, but this week we do plan on making it a bit of a shorter episode, just because we are going to be covering OSC King of the Hill in 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours time, so not a lot of time to wrap things up and to get ready for King of the Hill, because that there are certain things that we're going to be discussing during the next podcast, certain things like the StarCraft Evolution PTR patch notes, likewise the proposed balance changes by Pig, proposed balance changes by Gabe, and proposed balance changes by Sal as well. So there's a lot of talk about balance changes. There's a lot of discussion going on. I'm sure that's going to continue over the next week. So we will, I guess, try to condense that. I say condense that. It's probably going to be like a 6-hour long podcast next time. So I do apologize for that. I say likewise that it's probably going to accumulate, just because next week is purely the week of EWC, Esports World Cup. So it's going to be 2 weeks until the next podcast. There's going to be even more to talk about. We'll get there. So episode 56 might be our longest podcast yet. So strap in for that one, as that's going to be it's going to be not just us talking about all the balance changes, but also talking about EWC as well, and all tournaments from then as well. So boy, it's going to be a long one. For now, though, we're going to be jumping into our first bit of news here for this week's PondCast episode, and that is once again to remind you to check out the Pel and Jen's Stars Agora YouTube channel, as they have been uploading their content pieces throughout the course of the past week, and that continues to be the case here and now. We do have these shorter form interviews here, or shorter content pieces with Trigger, with Cyril, with Hearthstone, Skillus, Zaun, Geralt, Future, as well as Future was of course in Stars Agora. So once again, if you missed out on watching these little pieces live, then you can catch them out here on their YouTube channel, as they continue to upload on a daily basis. Like, there's still plenty of content, and there still might be a little bit more to come as well. So they produced a lot here. So it's not just their VOD content or their VOD tournament matches that they have on their channel, but also these little interviews as well. So do check it out. I do recommend it. Again, they're quite short, small bite-sized pieces of content. So no excuse to tune in and to watch them. There you go. So do check out Pel and Jen's YouTube channel. Meanwhile, that leads us into, speaking of small content pieces, the Basilisk content pieces here. As we mentioned previously, they have been organizing, or they have been releasing these Road to EWC small YouTube shorts or Twitter pieces as well. These YouTube videos, or these videos in general, around a minute or so long. And we already had one of these talking about Trigger, where the players that kind of spoke about what they think their best quality in Trigger is. But this week it is going to be Raynor, where they spoke about Raynor. They spoke about how fast he is, and I appreciated Trigger's response here, talking about how ambitious Raynor can be, and how focused and how dedicated he can be to the craft, to improving, to excelling, to becoming a champion, as of course he is a previous world champion as well. So again, do recommend checking it out. We should be seeing maybe even one. I believe we still have the players to talk about Cyril, and I believe that should be most likely a couple of days before Esports World Cup. And again, that is coming around the corner next week. We will of course be discussing the roster, the lineup for EWC later on in the broadcast. So do check that out. Likewise, speaking of EWC, that leads us into the Esports World Cup talent lineup here. Here we go. So we have confirmation. We have our stage host here. I'm hoping that Fancy is still like the overall host. Like I like Fancy. As he's been there for the past 2 years. So I'm hoping that he's also going to be a part of the broadcast. Fingers crossed, as he's not listed here. But that might just be because this is specifically the StarCraft 2 kind of lineup and the StarCraft 2 specific talent. And Fancy's more like a general host. But we'll see. I do hope to see a little bit more of him. But from what we can tell here, it's going to be Seltzer as stage host alongside Sandstorm. I'm not too familiar with Sandstorm. I don't know if Sandstorm is a part of other esports. That may be the case. Maybe another esport did take Fancy instead. Hard to say, but the hosts are going to be Seltzer and Sandstorm. Likewise, we have the desk host as Kalaris. We have Rotterdam as the analyst. We have Pig as the analyst. Zombiegob as the analyst as well. Interesting. For the casters, we have Artosis, a Tasteless, Loco, Wari, the Muslim, and Fear Dragon alongside State, and we have Cats as the interviewer. That's an interesting lineup here. And I'm curious as to how strict they're going to be with this. For those who remember, last year, they had, I want to say they had Wardy as an analyst or a desk host. It was one of the two. But because of that, because he wasn't strictly listed as a caster, he actually didn't get to cast. Like, straight up, Wardy did not cast last EWC because he was not technically listed as a caster. And there was another one, Loco. If you remember Loco, he was also brought in as like I want to say like a host on like the wrap-up show that they had, which means he also didn't get to cast either. I think they did get Cats on for one cast. I remember they got him on for one, even though he was, I think, also an interviewer last year as well. So again, what I'm getting at is that typically these roles are actually a little bit stricter, and they don't actually let the analysts on to cast too often. So I'm a little bit concerned by that fact, just because they're listing Rotterdam, Pig, and Zombregum as analysts, the three of them. And if that's the case, there's a chance that they're not going to be casting much, which would be a shame because I'll be honest with myself. Out of all the casters here, I think those three might be my favorite casters. Like they might be the ones that I actually listen to the most when it comes to actually watching casts. Less so some of the others. Of course, no shade, but like legitimately, like I feel like Rotterdam, Pig, Zombergrup, they're good casters. There's a chance they might not be able to cast too much during EWC. So that is my concern regarding this, just because of what happened in years past. So yeah, it's a little bit concerning, but we'll see. We'll see how they organize themselves, and if they do have a little bit of leeway, if they do have a little bit of control over who can kind of go in and out, then I'm sure they will drag Rotterdam, Pig, and Zombregum on. I'm hoping that is the case. Hoping that they'll be able to. So fingers crossed regarding that talent lineup and regarding how they are announced. Yeah. That's my big concern. When it comes to ourselves, of course, we won't be a part of the official broadcast, but we are going to be co-streaming, so we'll be able to add our own commentary over theirs, just like last year and the year before that. For the past 2 years, we've been co-streaming EWC, and that will continue this year as well. See in chat. Yeah, no Roddy or Paycast will be tragic for sure. Analysts will also cast, I believe. I hope so. Again, I'm just making reference to what happened last year, where they were a little bit more strict when it came to that role, and who could cast and who couldn't cast, and who they got on and who they couldn't get on. So yeah, hopefully they can get him on for a couple of key casts and key moments. That again, fingers crossed. Meanwhile, that leads us into our next bit of news, our next bit of content. That leads us into the StarCraft 2 map publishing. Now, for those of you that are aware, and for those that maybe weren't, the ability to actually update and upload maps on the StarCraft 2 arcade has been disabled for quite some time, and a lot of map makers and arcade modders have all been kind of anxiously waiting for that update for when things would be open once again and mods can be published. I know that the SC Evo and Warcraft The Evolution teams have been affected by this just because they have been unable to update their own respective mods for months at this point, but now we have an update here. It looks like they have re-enabled publishing for a subset of users. I believe SC Evo has already been updated. I believe that they've already been able to update that, and I'm sure for many of the other key mods out there, they've also gotten permissions to be able to update and upload maps and upload their respective mods as well. I don't think this is, from my understanding, this is not widespread. It's not like everyone can do this, but they will soon do so. I believe a handful of modders have been given the ability to do so, and eventually that will be a little bit more widespread. For those who are curious, the reason why this was disabled initially was because there were some key people kind of abusing this feature and uploading like explicit and disturbing content to StarCraft, and apparently that had been happening for a long time, but recently it was made more public, and so it was disabled so that it could be fixed, it could be rectified, and it could be restricted, and looks like that is now coming to fruition. So there we go. Good news here all around, especially to those working on SC Evo, on other mods as well, not just ones that we cover, but just mods in general, and arcade maps in general. So it is good news. As that leads us into our next bit of news as well. All right. Also, before we forget, the TLMC map contest number 5. I believe they have extended the period in which you can upload your own maps. As a reminder, for the TLMC, for the Team Liquid map contest that's coming up, it is the team game map contest. I believe 2v2 specifically, or just team games in general. So again, just bear it in mind if you are a map maker out there, and if you're also looking forward to some more updates to the team side of SC2, then that will soon be open, or that will soon be closed, and judging will soon be open as well, where we can pick, vote, and go for the maps, the upcoming change to the 2v2 and team game map pool as well. Exciting stuff, exciting stuff. Not the first time they've done so here, but there are maps in the 2v2 ladder that are very old, that have been around for many years, and it's due to be updated for sure, to kind of get them out of here and to bring in a new set of maps. And I know people like Uthermal and Wardy and some of the others that have been investing a little bit more heavily into team game content will be very excited to hear that, you know, there's going to be some updates here to the ladder for sure, to the map pool. To the map pool, to the map rotation. And right, I should also emphasize that because of the disabling of like maps being uploaded and all that, that also did actually negatively impact the ability for TLMC to run and for maps to be submitted as well. So that was also a reason why TLMC did extend and why things were sometimes delayed. But that is also going to be going ahead as well. We did hear from Wax Angel, of course, that this does mean that the new TLMC 1v1 edition is going to be out soon. Of course, after EWC, apparently sometime in August, maybe a little bit later, maybe a little bit sooner, again, depending on how things do work behind the scenes. But that is also going to be underway as well. So new map pool on the horizon. Let's go. New patch as well, which again, I guess we'll discuss next time in regards to proposed balance patches and what people are pushing for in the scene and in the community. Meanwhile, that leads us into our modded tournament results. Here we go. First things first, we have the StarCraft Evolution Masters number 4. That is, of course, the events that we were covering yesterday and throughout the course of the week. This was the first PTR tournament here for StarCraft Evolution. Of course, the proposed PTR changes were put forth. This event was run to try to test those changes. It was a 2-day event, and honestly, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to feature some of these players that we don't often get to see really thrive too often here. We got to see more of Dice once again. Dice, of course, is the anonymous Korean Terran player that is going under a new ID, and that was a pro player back in the day, and still anonymous as to who that is. I know a select player, or a select few amount of people out there are aware of his of who Dice is. I think STC, of course, being one of them, as he did bring him into the fold and did kind of bring him into the initial show matches. Likewise, we have Tasia out here as well. Once again, Tasia having a bit of a harder time in the first round, but he went up against Prome. Prome is a big heavy hitter here in StarCraft Evolution. We had Mang Russell popping off. Mang Russell, he actually went on a really strong performance here, taking down Ateshi, taking down 3-Point, taking down Rebellion as well. Bearing in mind that 3-Point did play Protoss. He did off-race his Protoss 2 games in a row, so that also did impact things. Otherwise, I would have said that 3-Point was favored to win the entire tournament. But thankfully for Mang Russell, 3-Point did play Protoss and got knocked the hell out. And Mang Russell was able to work his way through Rebellion and did meet his end at the hands of Rumiath. Rumiath being the champion of the SEL Masters number 4. So congratulations to Rumiath. Now, if you actually delve deeper into the events themselves, into these matches, only 2 maps were ported to be able to be tested on. Only Magnatha and Vermeer. So those 2 maps were the only ones ported, so that's why we actually have limited information and limited sample size here of what this event really entailed and what changes we could actually see come to fruition. I'll be honest, we saw a lot of all-ins, we saw a lot of cheese, and I think there was even a comment made, we'll get into it next week, I suppose, or in 2 weeks, when it comes to going over the PTR patch notes. But I do think that they were not very satisfied with the games, with the quality of games, or with the kind of games that were provided here to really give too much insight as to the PTR and as to what changes are worthwhile, what changes are not, and what to kind of go with. And I think I do agree with those sentiments. Like, I feel like a lot of the changes weren't really showcased in all of these matches. That's the risk that you take when it comes to hosting an invitational like this. I don't think this is the best way to actually test the PTR and test some changes. I do think they did a much better job last time. If you recall, it was a couple of months ago where they were trying to push through some Protoss changes, specifically for PvP. And what did they do? They organized show matches between purely Protoss players in StarCraft Evolution. I think they had like Ateshi and Rebellion and maybe Lunacy and maybe Prone, but they had like 3 or 4 or 5 like Protoss players, and they made them play purely PvPs to specifically like test out certain changes and see like what was beneficial, what was not, what was actually hurting, what was helping, to actually get a better idea what was going on. These specific matchups and these specific changes were being monitored. Here it's a little more difficult in a big bracket like this, where anyone can play against anyone and anyone can play any strategy, and again these are best of 3s as well, so again we had very limited kind of a very limited array of play here. And yeah, after covering them all again, we saw a lot of aggression, we saw a lot of all-ins. As a result, I will say that something that I do think that was done well is that scouting was maybe a little bit easier, right? I know that was a big thing that was changed when it comes to the accessibility here of certain things, like observers, for example, for Brood or Protoss, or the accessibility of Goliaths or Brood or Terran, for example, just to have anti-air a little bit faster. Like, there were a couple of changes here and there, but overall, yeah, there's I feel like still a lot to be determined in regards to the patch notes and in regards to what the new phase of StarCraft Evolution is going to entail. But I guess we'll get into that next time. But with this, congratulations to Rumith, as he does claim the win over Mang. And from here we did have our show match. This is a best of 9 between Tasia and Su. Again, this is not the first time we've seen Su. We saw Su previously in a different Enki show match, so a big shout out to Enki for hosting these events. Typically we do cast these, but this was also done in the PTR, and it also, you have to jump through a couple of hoops to actually cover this event, so we weren't able to cast it ourselves. So there's going to be no English coverage currently, and I don't think we're going to be able to cover it ourselves either, so it's a little bit unfortunate. But overall, really cool to see Tasia and Su facing off. Su, he was looking pretty well versed in StarCraft Evolution the last time we saw him. We saw him a couple of months ago, and again, Su, he has retired from the game, so I should emphasize that. Su, he is not back in when it comes to StarCraft 2, but he has been showing up for these show matches in StarCraft Evolution, so it's been really cool to see Su every now and then, specifically in these show matches. Like, he is not playing in StarCraft Evolution League, he's not playing in open tournaments, he's only showing up for these invitationals, or for these show matches. So really cool to see Su once again. He goes up against Tasia. Tasia looking a little bit more in form, and Tasia excelling here, taking down Su. And again, this is a Su that's out of practice. He's playing more for fun more than anything, but still a really good result, and really cool to see a back and forth between the two players, for sure. Really cool to see that back and forth. Congratulations to Tasia. Looks like the SDC did cast in Korean, and of course Enki did cast in Spanish as well. That leads us into the StarCraft Evolution League King of the Hill number 6. This was a King of the Hill style format, also to feature the PTR, and we had 10 best of ones, 10 best of ones back to back to back. We had Tasia. Tasia initially taking down Magic Turtle 1-0. Then we had Homono going on a tear. Tasia also playing Protoss, by the way. So interesting to see Tasia mixing it up, switching to Protoss and Terran. I know the SEC did the same. It's been a while since we've really seen Homono compete, so really cool to see a little bit more Homono here. Takes down Tasia, takes on Quantel. Tasia gets his revenge. So it looks like we revived quite a number of players. For these King of the Hills, they're best of ones, and usually there's like a set lineup of players that are available that you pool between. between and pull from. But if there aren't enough players, then you just rotate. You can just revive and rotate and bring players back in. So Tasia went back in, Quantel went back in, Tasia beat Homono, Quantel beat Tasia, Prone beat Quantel, Quantel beat he just revived Quantel immediately. Then they get 3-point, then Prone, then Magic Turtle. So looks like we did kind of rotate quite often between the same set of players here, and it was a fun back and forth between all of them. And again, the main purpose here was just to get a better idea of how certain changes were taking place. Unfortunately, didn't quite get to see these games ourselves, but shout out to the SEC and Hyper One for covering this event. And in the end, we did see a bit of a tie for first place. Homono, Prime, Quantel, and Tasia all tying in regards to how many games they did win. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to all said players facing off here in this King of the Hill. That leads us into the Hyper One Power Rankings number 5. It looks like, this is going to be an SC Evo event that Hyper One is going to be running here. I say that it's been a while. Wait, what? I feel like we've been going over this.
This is one of
what was the update?
This is one of these events that's been going on for the past like half a year. And I was informed that the group stage was just finished. I do not remember when we covered, if we even covered any of the group stage before.
We did. We've.
Remember, there are two power rankings. There is the regular power ranking and the SCVO power ranking.
Yeah, I don't think we've covered the SCVO one. I think we covered the regular one.
That's what I mean.
So interesting here. So we do have Ilias and 3-point and Yu making it out of Group A. Looks like we had Michnek, Homono, and Yaoi making it out of Group B. We had a Gunner and Hydra and Patches making it out of Group C. Kot, Zardians, and Magnath making it out of Group D. Okay, so congratulations to our players here. Again, looks like we had a round-robin group stage. As Kuro was mentioning, looks like this began many months ago and has recently concluded. At least they're, working their way through the groups. At least they're concluding. It's not as like the OSC Elite Rising Star event. True. It could be worse. I say that technically it's still not over. The playoffs they will soon begin. So we'll see if they do finish by the end of the year. We'll see if they finish by 2026. We'll keep an eye out for this. Aye. Congratulations, of course, to the players for making it through the group stage. That leads us into the Patches Balance Brawl number 1. Played on the Patches SC Balance mod. Interesting. So it looks like we were speaking earlier about proposed balance changes that different members of the community were proposing and bringing together and bringing to light. Looks like Patches has done the same as well. I was doing my best to avoid going through these long patch notes just because it usually takes like an hour to go through each one and discuss each one. And I can see here that it's a very in-depth balance mod here from Patches. Shaking my head. God damn it. Jesus, what is okay? There's a lot here. So regardless, shout out to Akeron and Greenert for facing off in said best of 7. In the end, Akeron did take down Greenert 5-2. I don't know how much you can really glean in regards to the proposed balance changes from this one series, but it's very possible here that Patches is going to be looking to host more of these events. This is merely the first brawl, and we could see a second, third, fourth, fifth, just to refine the mod, just so Patches can work through this and get to his end game and end goal in regards to what he's proposing. I will quickly go over through the goals of his balance mod at least. It says make the game feel fresh again. Sure, that's going to be a given. Nerf trolling and encourage activeness. That was, if you recall, a goal that was provided by the Balance Council as well in the previous patch. Whether they succeeded or not, I think we can say that they didn't really. But there was also a goal there. Nerf Terran all-ins versus Protoss, make gateway units feel more reliable. Interesting proposed change depending on how he does go about it. Nerf Oracle openers in PvZ and bring back Twilight Council / Robo openers as well. PvZ is stale at the moment. I feel like that's a very cold take. I think most people would agree with that statement as well. Help Terran in the mid game versus Protoss. Add experimental niche upgrades for fun. Interesting. Not intended to fix SE2, but for fun balance purposes. Interesting. But yes, maybe we can go through this next time. So just more proposed balance changes. Jesus. Oh god, it's gonna be It'll be a long podcast next time. But with that, so that leads us into our next bit of a couple of events. It leads us into our amateur tournaments. Let's go. This week's amateur weekly, amateur league monthly tournaments, number 42. Okay, I believe, is this the seasonal event? I would imagine so. Happy 4th anniversary. Okay. Interesting. So coming up here, when it comes to our initiates monthly tournaments, we do have Ragnar. Looks like Ragnar was the only player to sign up though, so Ragnar gets the default win. GG. Let's go. Ragnar does take the default win. I was a little bit confused just because apparently this is a monthly, and I'm pretty sure I don't know if this was changed to a monthly from a weekly.
So from what I understand, they do like maybe 3 weeklies and then a monthly. I think it's just like a recurring pattern, and then we have like seasonal finals.
Okay. So shout out to Ragnar for taking the win here. Meanwhile, we do head on over to the veteran edition here of the Amateur League monthly tournaments. Here we had Rini. We had Rini going for a deep run here, taking the win over possibly maybe twice actually. 2 0s and 1 0s all around, not dropping a single map. So congratulations here to Rini, the Terran, for claiming the win here for the veteran league. Meanwhile, that leads to Prestige. That's for Diamond 1 to Masters 2 ranked players. Where we did have Milka. Hey, we know Milka. Milka, he does take the win, takes down Defiance, takes down Beast, takes down Steez, and takes down Arez in the grand finals. Big win here for Milka, a player that we have covered in our own tournaments in the past. I mean, a lot of regulars are here, like Defiance, like Beast, like Steez, like Arez as well, players that we've seen plenty of throughout the course of the past couple of months. But Milka does take the win. Congratulations. As that leads us into the Elite Edition here, where we also did have a walkover. Sleepy, I believe that might be Dormiloco even. Let me just double check. That might be the Brazilian Zerg player. Yes, it is. So that is Dominoco. That is the Brazilian Zerg player. Does get the default win here for the Elite Edition. Congratulations. Unfortunately, it looks like less participation this month for this week, but partly that might be because of what's coming up right around the corner. Regardless, hope to see more participation in the future for some of these events, or for all the events, really. So fingers crossed regarding that. That leads us into our next bit of our next event. That leads us into Roddy Stream Rumble number 2, 5K edition. Roddy, this week there was no Monday Night Weekly, so Roddy did host his own tournament for those between the leagues of, between the MMR ranges of 4.5k MMR and 5.3k MMR as well. So this is around Masters 2 to GM, low GM, I should emphasize. And we had a key number of players here. We saw Hacker is Top, we saw Jay, we saw Captain Alex, Lewis as well. Dronehard, Bolmyoja was there, so players that we're quite familiar with for the most part. Some that I'm a little bit less so familiar with here, like Captain Alex, a Ukrainian Protoss player, had a really strong performance here. Takes down Countess, Lewis, Jay, and Jay. So congratulations to old mate Alex for claiming the win here. GG, well played. It does claim the win, and does become our Roddy Stream Rumble champion. Congratulations. And again, Roddy, he does host these irregularly. Every now and then does host like a stream rumble, just whenever there's a free night, whenever there's no Monday Night Weekly, for example, he'll host something like this. So GG, well played. That leads us into the Passion Craft Emerging Stars number 24. This is an event also for those between or those below the MMR ranges of 5.5k MMR. Typically, this is where we see an Inexorable thrive, and Inexorable, he had a deep run, but no, he goes down to Hacker's Top. Hacker's Top is a hyper cheesy player, so congratulations. Hacker's Top takes down Inexorable, goes up to the finals against Mini Zerg UA, and they have a back and forth. They went all the way to the A smash, some Ukrainian on Ukrainian action. A lot of Ukrainian representation here, actually, with Blue Spirit, Hacker is Top, Mini Zerg UA, and Gref as well. But in the end, Mini Zerg does claim the win 3-2 over Hacker is Top. GG, well played. I know it can be quite stressful and quite difficult playing against Hacker is Top because 1, he's random, 2, he does nothing but all-in and nothing but cheese, and some really crazy and quirky all-ins as well. So he's a very difficult player to read, not easy whatsoever. Congratulations to Mini Zerg. Congratulations. That leads us into the Youth Level 2v2 warm-up cups. So we did speak on the monthlies, and we did speak on Youth Thermal's 2v2 circuit that is right around the corner. That's going to be taking place after EWC. But in the interim, between the league and between EWC, or between the commencement of the main event, we do have these warm-up cups. These do not provide any points for the events. These are strictly for just prize money, but also they're a way to keep the 2v2 scene alive, keep it thriving, keep people practicing, keep them improving. But what I love the most out of this is it's also giving the opportunity for players to start mixing and matching their partners and actually having like a new outlook here on some of these matches. I know that Euthermal specifically has been switching his own partner as well, and the benefit of that is if you are unaware, or if maybe you forgot about the format for the main event for Euthermal 2v2 circuit, it is in the playoffs you will be having a different partner every round. So yes, you qualified for the playoffs with a certain 2v2 partner, but you're going to be split apart from them, you're going to be in different groups, and you're going to be playing alongside other people, potentially people that you have no experience with. So these weeklies, these warm-up cups, they do allow you to mix and match, to play with some of these other playoff players and have experience with them, to be ready for that kind of scenario and situation when you're playing with someone that you've never played before, playing with a race you've never played before. Now you have the opportunity to get some experience ahead of time in this tournament environment. So I do think this is a good opportunity for a lot of these players. Speaking of, an example of that is Wayne. Wayne, he was partnering with Milky Cow for a lot of his performances in the regular season, but here it did meet up with Night Phoenix instead, playing together. Okay, so we had Wayne and Night Phoenix. We had some of our regulars here with Jumi, Young Yakov, Trigger and Clem, Lambert Harston, Def Marzardi, Spirit Showtime. For the most part, regular team-ups here. Typically it's Spirit and Max Pax, but here he is joined by Showtime, and he does claim the win. Spirit and Showtime, they take down Def Marzardian, take down GG Machine Shameless, and they take down Trigger and Clem in the finals. This is almost a blast from the past. I'm used to seeing Trigger and Clem in second place, but it's been a while just because they haven't been able to compete. If you recall, often a lot of the 2v2 monthlies would coincide with like a Wardy TV event or an RSL, and would mean that Clem was not available, and Trigger, as a result, didn't have a partner and often wouldn't play. So very often we'd see walkovers and Trigger and Clem. It's been a while since they've competed together. Hey, once again they make it to the finals, and once again they lose to Spirit and his Protoss partner. This time, not Spirit and Max Fax, it was Spirit and Showtime. So congratulations to Spirit and Showtime for claiming the first win here. That leads us into the next warm-up cup number 2, where we actually had a different champion. Okay, this time I don't see our regular finalists here. This time there is no Trigger and Clem. This time there's no Spirit and Showtime or Spirit and Max Packs. Instead, we had Team Shopify going far here. They take down Euthermal and Fiance. We spoke about mixing up teammates and mixing up players. Here we had Euthermal teaming up with Fiant. We had Goblin teaming up with Elaser instead. We had Mixu alongside a Hydra. Interesting duo. We had a Big Game and Moja playing together for the first time, I believe. We had Geralt and Indy. Geralt, he's usually with Nicaract. But this time, or sometimes the laser as well, but this time Geralt, he was playing with Indy. That looks like a lot of fun. We had Night Phoenix versus and Wayne again. We had Jumi and Young Yakov again. We had Lemon and Kingslayer. Interesting pairing. Art and Lord GG. Yeah, we had some new duos here. I appreciate it. I appreciate players mixing it up. But in the end, Lemon and Harson, they take down Euthermal and Fiance. They take down Goblin and Laser. They take down GG Machine and Shameless as well. So congratulations to this Shopify duo. GG. GG will play. That leads us into World Cup number 3, where we had GG Machine and Shameless. This was actually, last night, the night before. They do claim the win here. Finally, they did come second place last time, but here they just go on a massive tear, take down Dimaga and Starfish, Goblin and Laser, and Night Phoenix and Wayne. This time, Euthermal, he played alongside Moja. They did play together instead. Likewise, Geralt, this time for the first time, played with Christiana. I thought that was a little fun, just because I feel like they've been rivals for a long time, but here they did join forces and come together. So really cool to see. And again, congratulations to GG Machine and Shameless. We had Milky Cow and Young Yakov this time. Oh, for the first time. Usually, again, Milky Cow's with Wayne. Usually he's with Vanya, but yeah, this time did partner up with Young Yakov. A little bit less success there this time, and they did get knocked out a little bit earlier. But again, really cool to see players kind of mix up their teammates and have like a different kind of pairing. I believe same with Tiger and Ultramarine. I think usually it's Tiger and Replicant, if I'm not mistaken. I remember Tiger usually has a different teammate. So really cool to see. Really cool to see. With that, GG well played to GG Machine and Shameless for claiming the final win. And we should be seeing 2 more warm-up cups. 2 more. There should be number 4 and number 5 right around the corner before the main event. That leads us into the regional events.
Important note here, next week there is no 2v2 cup because of EWC, but there will be one after that.
Yes. So in 2 weeks' time is going to be the next warm-up cup. Meanwhile, that leads us into the that leads us into the Nation League. Nation League finals. We finally have a Nation League champion. Scrolling all the way down here, we do have our playoffs. We do have our finalists. It was Kazakhstan and Taiwan in the grand finals, and Kazakhstan, they claimed the win. We had Across and Papa Panda. It's Papa Panda. They are tied 1-1. We had Refuxus and Floppy Cat also tied 1-1. And we had Talendar taking down Undertaker 2-0. It went down to the Division 1 match, and Talendar did take down Undertaker. GG well played. Kazakhstan, they're going to be this season's nation champion. And we do have Brazil and Hungary, who were meant to have played by now. They have not. So we might have an update for a 3rd place match next week, as they were supposed to play, and it's possible that they might just not. It's possible that, I think there is delineation between 3rd and 4th. There is a prize pool delineation, so it is going to be important in regards to who does earn money. So I'm sure we're getting an update soon, TM, regarding the 3rd place match, or there might be a forfeit awarded. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But regardless, congratulations to Kazakhstan. Once again, this league took a really long time. Started back in May and just now wrapping up here in July. And yeah, I'm sure we're going to be seeing another one in the future as well. So best of luck to all. Shout out to all the teams that competed here. Shout out to all the players as well. And looking forward to the next Nation League. GG well played. That leads us into the Fusion Esports League CranKy 2025 Polish Championship. This is a very intense event. We went through the group stage, likewise went through the playoffs as well. In regards to the group stage here, we had Alasia and Mana making it through the groups over Christian and Thrifax. We had Geralt and Spirit making it through the groups over Art and Pappy. And we had our top 4. Now, because of the players, of the top 4 that we had, Alasia, Spirit, Geralt, and Mana, fun fact, all 4 of them actually already qualified either through invites or through the open qualifiers for the main event already. So the seed for the Polish Championship was not awarded to any of those. It was awarded to Art instead. Art, who I believe had the better standing. Yeah, he had the better standing here in the group stage, just because Cristiano also already qualified. So it was going to be between Cristiano and Art. Cristiano, he already qualified. So Art, he is the player that actually gets the seed from the Polish Championship all the way into the main Krakow event. So congratulations to Art. Meanwhile, when it comes to the playoffs, so we had, I want to say, some crazy results here. Laser had a really good showing against Spirit. He took him down 3-1. We, of course, were the official English casters, and if you're curious how that series went, Laser, he Roach Lin, Spirit, every game. Every game. Short games, a lot of really short games, a lot of all-ins out of a Laser. And fun fact, in the finals, it was also quite one-sided, and Laser also went for non-stop all-ins. He went for non-stop all-ins, but they were not working. There were some games here where he would deal some critical damage, but it was not enough to kill Mana, and Mana would just snowball from there, either turtle and recover, or just snowball out of control. So once again, Alasia, he was hyper aggressive. We expected something like this from Alasia, just because, if you're familiar, Alasia, he's been playing a lot of AoE. He's been playing a lot of Age of Empires, number 4 specifically, streaming a lot, playing a lot, competing a lot. So that's where he's been devoting a lot of time, less so in StarCraft 2. Despite that, that's why I was surprised to see Alasia making it through the group stage, but not so surprised in the manner in which he played the group stage, just all in every single game. And Mana, he was able to weather the storm and use the storm himself and claim the win. GG. Congratulations here to Mana. Takes down Geralt, takes down Laser, and Mana is going to be our Polish Championship champion. He's going to be the best in Poland, the Prince of Poland, the King of Krakow. GG well played to Mana. Likewise, shout out to Geralt for claiming 3rd place. Takes down Spirit 4-2. Strong showing there by Geralt. Again, Geralt, his PVT has been looking insane as of late. Been looking very strong. And here, able to even show it off against Spirit as well. So congratulations to our top 4 players here. Congratulations to Mana. And a special shout out to Art for also qualifying for the main event via this tournament, via the Polish Championship. Let's go. I think he made a joke himself saying that he was going to be the translator for SOS. Of course, also alluding to the fact that Art, he did spend some time in Korea. So he's got some decent Korean. Does have it. GG. GG well played. With that, congratulations. That leads us into our next event. That leads us into Monkey Fights number 4. The apes continue, papi. Yeah. As that leads us into our next tournaments. Here we do have our 1v1 format CIS tournament where GG Machine, he does go on a tear, takes down MidVK, takes down Nicorette, big win there for GG Machine, and takes down Young Yakov in the finals as well. Really impressive results here. I'll be honest, shout out to Hacker's Top, of course. He's the organizer of this event, has been doing so for the past 4 editions, and I rate Nicorette quite highly, but I also know that Nicorette has been less active. He's been less active, maybe a little bit demotivated just because EWC is around the corner, and of course there are certain players that did not make it to the main event. So Nicorette, he's just been less active. He's been competing in less tournaments. So in that inactivity here, he forced the GG Machine. So crazy result here. Shout out to GG Machine. Likewise, I also rate Young Yakov quite highly here. In my mind, Young Yakov and Wayne, they're the top 2 Zerg players in the CIS region. GG Machine being behind them, but he takes the win here in this tournament. 3-1 over Young Yakov. Big win here for GG Machine. Impressive results, and hopefully it bodes well for his upcoming tournaments, especially the 2v2 tournaments. GG. GG well played. Even Lord GG getting the win over Nicorette as well in the 3rd place match. Oh my god. I mean, that was the best of 1, to be fair. That was that was the best of 1. But a big win there for Lord GG as well. That leads us into the Jinking Team League 2025 Spring Edition. Back over in the playoffs, we have our champions. Let's go. They work their way through every single team here in the playoffs, through HIST, through PCEC, and through Starlight Twinkle as well. Elpis, they do claim the win. They did have a strong roster. In my mind, though, Starlight Twinkle had, I want to say, the edge here in the finals. Lemon versus Jolo Loves, they tied 1-1. SCV takes down Young Zest 2-0. That's a big win for SCV. SCV and Triple H, they go tied 1-1. And Nanami Chiaki takes down Young Zest 1-0 as well. A rough day here for Young Zest. I rate Young Zest quite highly, but to lose against SCV and to lose against Nanami as well, yeah, some rough matches there, a rough showing from Young Zest, and with that, Elpis claim the win, and they are the biggest chickens in the team league. GG. GG will play. They're the kings of the chicken, pappy. Oh my god. They are going to be this season's champion, and I'm sure there's going to be another season around the corner as well. That leads us into the Sunrise Cup 207. This is a weekly tournament for the Chinese region, for the Chinese scene. Hey, speaking of Nanami Chiaki, bam, there you go. Nanami Chiaki does take down Night Stalker in the finals and is this week's Sunrise Cup champion. We saw that unfortunately Young Zest did not compete against Nanami. There was a walkover provided there, or a walkover given, so a little bit of a feels bad man. I do think that Young Zest would have been the biggest threat to Nanami, but does fall there, and with that, Nanami takes the win. GG well played. Meanwhile, a shout out to Luis GGG in the chat. Gab, I mean, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great ladder session. Hope you had a great time. Thank you. Thank you. Do appreciate it. Do appreciate it. Hope you had a great time, and welcome one and all to the PondCast, where we're just going to be going through all the tournament results of the week. Again, we're getting through it. Getting through the regional weeklies, as this week in the Legacy Weekly Japan number 463, we had is that oh god, I almost said Topiak. Tapioca. God, every time I have to double check. Hold on. I think that is Tapioca, right? I know that Tapioca has been winning a lot of these weeklies. Yep, there we go. I understand the Japanese. Tapioca does take down Sayark, takes down Crimson, and takes down Akira in the finals. Again, not the first time that Tapioca has taken a win, and Tapioca has slowly been becoming the best player in Japan. Like, some more and more results under his belt, so big win there for Tapioca. GG well played. Congratulations, does take the win once again. That leads us into the Kirktown Ready Room number 3. This is a series of show matches, impromptu show matches, organized by Dave Testa. Of course, you can check them out over on Dave Testa's stream. We had Jumi taking down Fian 3-0. We had Patches over Groovy 3-2, and Special over Starkiller 3-0 as well. 3 best of 5s. Again, Dave, he just kind of brought on whoever he could find at the time, and we had some really fun pairings here. I'll be honest, a little bit surprised that Jumi and Fiant was as one-sided as it was. I know that Juanito is more in form than Starkiller, so that was a little bit more expected, but a shout out to Patches and Groovy for having that back and forth and going all the way to the ace match. GG. GG, well played. And again, shout out to Dave for hosting this event. Again, this isn't necessarily a regular event. It's just every now and then does decide to throw it on, does decide to bring it together here, and congratulations to our winning players. That leads us into the Big Brain Bouts number 98. Now, last week we did have the UK versus US edition, the Civil War, if you will. Here we do have maybe a bit of a theme, hard to say. We had Medic Jr. versus Fireclaw in a TVP. We had Angry versus GMAC in a TVZ. We had Fiant versus Baby Marine in a ZVT, and Bunny versus Gumiho in a TVT. It's been a while since we've seen Bunny. Like, Bunny's been pretty inactive as of late. Partly, I'm sure, because the road to EWC has concluded, but I'm actually going to double check here. And yeah, Bunny, he hasn't played since GSL. June. It's been a month. It's been around a month since he's actually played any games. Looks like he played a couple of OSC mid-season playoffs matches, but he has not been playing in like Wardy TV Mondays or Biggest Cups or KSLs or Monday Night Weeklies. He has not played in any of the open tournaments. So it looks like Bunny, I mean, we saw this last year as well, where Bunny, once the players are confirmed for EWC, he does step back. He does take a step back, and he hasn't been competing. And as a result, it makes sense that he would have a rough showing here against Gumiho. So GG, well played. I mean, Gumiho, he's already one of the stronger Terran players out there in regards to TVT. You can argue that Gumiho has the best TVT in the world as well. So Gumiho does take the win. Congratulations. Shout out to GMAC for taking the win over Angry, Meg Jr. for taking the win over Fireclaw, and Fiant over Baby Marine as well. Congratulations. Congratulations. When it comes to the theme, maybe Terran? I don't know. Usually there's something a little bit more thematic as to the pairings, but here it's going past me, so not too aware. Not too familiar. If anyone can think of one, then let us know. As that wraps up our regionals and wraps up our show matches, that leads us into the OSC Elite Rising Star number 15. Yo, we have some updates. Okay, we have some updates here. Which updates? Yet to be determined. Hold on. No. In regards to the updates for the Elite Rising Star, it looks like we had Young Yako versus Baby Marine? Question mark? Okay, hold on. So it looks like we had some updates in the lower portion of the bracket. So we had Young Yakov taking down Bay Marine 2-0. It looks like Young Yakov did forfeit against Sebestis, so a bit of a feels bad man. Sebestis takes down UD Soldier 2-1, and it looks like we have our confirmed players here towards the end of the bracket. We have Nick Wright and Sebestis soon to face off in the lower bracket. Likewise, Percival takes down Shameless 2-1, and we have Percival waiting down there as well alongside Milky Cow. So we do have a line of players waiting. We're nearing the end of the event here. Jimmy, of course, is waiting for his next opponent, and we still have to determine whether it's going to be a Terran or a Protoss. We have Nick Rack, Sebestis, Percival, and Milky Cow all facing off to determine who will play against Jumi in those finals. Oh boy. So best of luck. Best of luck to all the remaining competitors. As that leads us into the OC King of the Hill number 217. Oh my god. And in said weekly, we had Björn as the returning King of the Hill. He does take down Showtime. Showtime, I don't think he's played in many of these before, but we were actually giving praise to Showtime over the past week just because of his activity. Showtime has been playing in so many tournaments as of late, so really cool to see him here once again. He does go down to he does go down to Beyond, but really cool to see him competing nonetheless. Shin takes down Beyond 1-0. Shin takes down Geralt. It goes down to Mana. Of course it does. Mana takes down Shin. Goes on a very short win streak though, just the one, as he goes down to Nickrat. Then he goes down to Cristiano. He goes on a tear, takes down Shameless, Jumi, Art, Eba, and falls eventually to Percival. And then MaxPax comes in to be the final king of the hill. Takes down Percival, Babe Marine, Geralt, and Jumi to claim the final win. So congratulations here to MaxPax, and MaxPax will be invited to be this. He'll be invited to be the starting player for the next OC King of the Hill, which will be later on tonight. Oh boy, so congratulations here to MaxPax, and shout out to all the other champions here in this week's tournaments, like Cristiano, like Björn, Shin, Mana, and Nickrat as well. So congratulations, alongside Percival. Meanwhile, we do have the OC midseason playoffs, where we did have a couple of other matches concluding. Looks like we had the lower brackets Trigger versus Nickrat. Trigger takes down Nickrat 3-1 up against Björn in the next round. We have Cristiano takes down Jan Yakov 3-1 as well, also up against Shin in the next round. Scrolling down a little bit further, we had Showtime versus Percival. Showtime takes down Percival 3-0. Big win there for Showtime. Speaking of, Showtime takes down Solar 3-1. That's an even bigger win. Solar's been a little bit more quiet as of late, but I know that he is, of course, getting ready for EWC. So regardless, that's a big win for Showtime. Very impressive result out of our German Protoss player. Likewise, we have Geralt. Geralt takes down Jumi 3-0. Big win. Jumi's been getting some really good results as of late, but so is Geralt. And Geralt, he takes down Jumi 3-0. And ooh, Spirit gets his revenge. If you recall, Geralt did take down Spirit during the Polish Championship, but here before the Polish Championship, we had Spirit taking down Geralt 3-0. So they have been trading back and forth. And up next, we'll be having Spirit versus Showtime in the lower bracket round 4. Oh boy. So again, the OC mid-season playoffs are also slowly progressing. They're slowly progressing. And of course, we have Bunny in the upper portion of the brackets alongside Cham. And they will eventually soon face off. That leads us into our open tournaments. And this leads us into the biggest CSO Open Cup that we've had in, I think, maybe even the history of CSO Cups. I recall, I think it was Blood Rain. Was actually discussing this previously, talking about some of the signups and how exciting it was. We had some big names here. We had Cristiano, we had Jumi, we had Showtime, Björn, Art, Shameless, Nickrat, VK, and Showtime got his revenge. As of late, Björn has been getting better and better results over Showtime, but not this time. Showtime takes down Shameless, Showtime takes down Björn, and Showtime 3-0s Cristiano in the grand finals. Big win here for Showtime. As we mentioned, I guess that was alluding to some of these results, Showtime has been a lot more active as of late, has been playing in everything, and this kind of goes in line with how some players have been approaching the preparation phase here for EWC and how other players haven't, where players like Björn and Showtime have been spiking up in activity, and they've been playing in more open tournaments, much more. Meanwhile, we have other players that have been taking a step back, like Hero. Hero used to play in everything, same with Solar as well, but they've been taking a step back, hiding builds, hiding their play, and making sure they are ready and everything is hidden in preparation for EWC. So some players are playing more, others are playing less, just to hide and preserve builds. It's really interesting to see which players are doing what exactly. But here, Showtime does take the win over Cristiano. He's going to be this week's CSO Cup champion. Congratulations. That leads us into STC Sparkling Tuna Cup, where this time no Showtime. This time Björn, he was able to go through, takes down Nickrat, takes down Percival in the grand finals. Big win here for Björn. Again, Björn playing in everything. Was unable to win the CSO Cup, but does take the win here over Percival for the Tuna Cup. Congratulations here to Björn. Percival also going in a tear, takes down Art, takes down Geralt as well. Some big TVP wins. Nickrat takes down Jumi here as well in that best of 3. Did go to the ace match. Big win there for Nickrat. But congratulations to Björn. Congratulations and a shout out to Rebellion for winning the random raffle for this week's STC. That leads us into the Wardy TV Monday number 44. Speaking of Showtime, here we have him once again. Again, we were praising Showtime for just how much he's been playing and how well he's been performing. If you recall, he took down Solar in the OC midseason playoffs. He took down Björn in the CSO Open Cup. And here he takes down Björn again. 2-0, takes down Gumiho. 2-1, takes down Shin 2-1, and takes down Clem 3-2. So this is the most impressive showing by Showtime. In all the other open tournaments, there's like 1 or 2 big names he brings down, but here, Showtime, he went through a really tough bracket here, taking down some of the best players in the world to claim this weekly. So big win here for Showtime. Once again, Showtime is looking very in form in the lead up to Esports World Cup. These results, they're boding well. They're boding well for Showtime. Shout out to Clem. Clem, of course, he made it all the way to the finals. He took down MaxPax 2-1, took down Raynor 2-0. Raynor is another player that's been playing more often. Raynor, he's been very rarely signing up and showing up for these open tournaments, but now that he's in Korea, remember, Raynor and Clem, they're both in Korea at the moment, and now that he's in Korea, he's been playing a little bit more when it comes to the Wardy TV Open Cups or the Monday Night Weeklies. Raynor has been more active, more than in the past at least. Despite that, Clem does take the win. Clem takes down Raynor, takes down MaxPax. Special shout out to Raynor because he took down Classic to make it to the quarterfinals, so a big win there. Big win for Raynor. To have made it to the quarterfinals, does go down in the quarterfinals, but again, not easy to make it that far. Not easy at all. As Showtime takes the win. That leads us into the Pigastar Cup. Pigastar Cup number 40. This is another weekly open tournament. Here, unfortunately, no Showtime, no Clem, no Raynor either. Instead, we had Bjorn. Bjorn, he was able to go on a tear, making it all the way to the finals, facing off against MaxPax in that best of 5. This was a really intense one. Bjorn, he was up 2-0. And honestly, it looked like he was going to 3-0. But then on Tokamak, what did Bjorn do? He proxied. He went for a proxy. He got ahead in the series. It was looking really strong, really solid. He proxied. Things fell by the wayside. Bjorn, who was getting a little bit too excited at times. Sorry, he didn't proxy on Tokamak. He proxied on Pylon. I should emphasize that. Did proxy on Pylon on Tokamak. MaxPax, he started to get comfortable. He gained momentum, and MaxPax was able to pull off the reverse sweep, winning 3 games in a row. Big win there for MaxPax. Very impressive, coming back from the brink of defeat, and does claim this week's Pigastar Cup. GG. GG here to MaxPax. And shout out to Bjorn for almost claiming the win and for making a series out of it. Again, there's definitely a world out there where he could have taken this series as well, but barely not. MaxPax was able to bring it back. Congratulations here. Also a shout out to Shameless. He had a crazy upset previously to Estrella. Like, everyone was expecting Estrella to face off against Bjorn and maybe face off against MaxPax, but Shameless did stop him, did bring him down. Big win for Shameless. Big win. GG. Well played. That leads us into our next open tournament. Oh, that leads us into our next tournament. That leads us into the RSL. The Revival StarCraft League has concluded. It has finally concluded here, has wrapped up. We have our champion. And when it comes to this season's RSL, we had the playoffs. And in said playoffs, we had a Classic going on a tear. Classic specifically in PvT. Takes down Bjorn, takes down Clem, takes down Cure, takes down Clem once again. Classic showcasing his skill, showcasing his prowess here in the PvT matchup. Insanely impressive performance here from Classic. I myself haven't seen these games yet. I do plan on watching them before EWC, but it all depends on how much time we have. We only have a couple of days left, and there's just been a lot of casting going on. A lot to catch up on, so I haven't been able to have the luxury of watching it yet, but maybe soon I'll be able to catch up and get a better glimpse on how some of these games did unfold. So really impressive performance here from Classic. Clem, likewise, he was able to bring himself back from the brink. He took down Raynor 3-1, Shin 3-0. He took down Cure 4-2 as well with his Protoss, of course, but did fall to Classic. So Clem still looking terrifying in the TVZ matchup. He gets his revenge over Shin. If you recall, we spoke about this at the time in regards to DreamHack Dallas, but Shin, he had a very specific playstyle against Clem that did catch him off guard, but Clem has had plenty of time to go over those matches. And I'm curious if Shin also went Roach base openers into Ultras here as well, and if he got punished for it. I'm really curious to see how Shin played against Clem, also how Raynor played against Clem as well. I do think that really would be a sign of things to come in regards to EWC. Likewise, I'm also curious as to how Classic kind of compared to him. I know that Classic, he's one that typically plays more defensively and plays more macro based and more late game based as well in PvT. I'm curious if that was also the trend in these matchups against Cure, Clem, Bjorn, and Clem again. So congratulations here to Classic for becoming our RSL champion. I know that he's been looking a little more impressive as of late. Here he fell to Shin and he fell to Raynor. It was in GSL where he also fell to Rogue, and here he also lost to Raynor at DreamHack Dallas. Specifically, Hero's PVZ has been looking a little bit more shaky. I say that if you remember, if you're watching those games, both Raynor and Rogue were hyper aggressive. Rogue went purely for all-ins against Hero. Raynor also all-in the hell out of Hero as well, and Hero was having a hard time defending against those all-ins at Dallas and in GSL. I don't know if that's what happened here. Again, I didn't get to see these games, so I'm really curious if there were also all-ins involved or if there was more standard play. But this is a matchup that is becoming an issue now for Hero. Hero, I would have said a year ago, he had the best PvZ in the world, more so than MaxX, more so than any other Protoss out there. But currently, his PvZ has been looking more shaky. But again, a lot of it also depends on how these games have been playing out, and if Hero has been holding back in preparation for EWC. So hard to say. But currently, at least, his PvZ is looking a little bit shaky, so we'll keep an eye on that moving forward. As there's also been some more news announced regarding the RSL. We already have a schedule, I believe. We already have a schedule here for the Season 2. Of course, it's going to be in September after the Esports World Cup. So it looks like qualifiers have been announced. We have the Americas qualifier, Korea and Europe server qualifiers alongside them. They're going to be in August. And of course, we'll do our best to cast them. We'll do our best to cast them just like last season. We'll do our best to cover these events and cover these qualifiers. We'll also do a better job at actually co-streaming the main event. We do have permission to co-stream. We didn't get to this season because there was just so much going on, but I would imagine during the off season we'll have a little bit more freedom in our schedule to actually go over these events and co-stream these events. So I will be doing a better job at doing that and covering that over the next season. That's the hope, at least. In regards to the RSL, they also released their own little segments, like their own post broadcast segments, I should say. RSL After Dark. It's an interesting segment, is what I will say, where they just kind of discuss StarCraft a little bit. It's a little bit more generic, a little bit more general. They also do pose questions to their Patreon, and you can actually ask questions via Patreon. They don't answer them here. They have their own RSL After Dark. It's they have their own Patreon segments for those on Patreon. But this is the public segment, I should say. And here it was really cool to hear from them, just because I was a little bit unaware as to Ziggy's history in StarCraft. Obviously, we knew him as a player, but apparently he was also handling the production side of things for EWC, and he's also going to be at Riyadh, also handling some production side of things at this year's EWC as well. So I didn't know that he had that kind of backstory, or that kind of that history, that experience alongside him. So yeah, apparently Ziggy, he handles production for the Esports World Cup. I don't know the specifics, but he's a part of that. He also spoke about how he did some casting for the Polish side of things as well. For I Am Katowice, so he did some casting for I Am Katowice. He did some production work for last year's Esports World Cup, this year's Esports World Cup. I didn't realize how good his English was either. So it was really cool to hear a little bit more from Ziggy, someone who's typically behind the scenes, now on the forefront, now on mic. So really cool to hear from him. Really cool to hear. Other things that we learned from these RSLs, we knew that Trap had Trap was also a Pappy. We did know this. I want to say that was spread on social media a while ago. But if you remember, Trap, he was competing at the start of the year, but he did step away from competing. It was quoted because of his family, apparently specifically because of his newborn child. Trap, now that he's a dad, is now focusing on that family life, on raising his child. And Gemini actually spoke a little bit about that, about how he had actually asked Trap if he was going to pull a Dark and try to compete alongside it, and Trap said no. Trap, he was like, no, at this point, he has retired. He did come back at the start of the year. He had hopes and he had ambitions of returning, and he was looking really strong at the start of the year as well. But for, at least currently, he is full-time focusing on his family, on the family side of things instead. So best of luck to Trap. It was really cool to hear from that as well, just because I know there were some people asking about Trap. It's people asking about stats and some of the other players as well, but it was really nice to get some closure, or at least hear something from Gemini regarding Trap as well. So really cool to hear. Of course, Gemini knew. Of course. Aye. So so it's cool to hear from Gemini. They also went through like their own EWC power rankings for the players and their own predictions as well. They spoke a little bit about RSL season 2, how they've kind of like learned from season 1, how the benefits of crowdfunding and their plans for the future and growth over time as well. Again, they're quite happy and quite content with how season 1 has unfolded, especially as more of like a beta season, as the first edition, as the trial run, and they plan on of course growing and improving from here on forward. So really cool to hear from them. And they have their studio space. I know they want to have like an offline finals. They were able to have Rainer on and able to have some of the other players on as well to cast and to give some insight. So yeah, it's a really cool project. And of course, everyone helps support the Patreon of RSL. The Patreon is out there, !RSL in the chat. I do believe we have a command for it. And good things to come. Good things to come for the future of RSL. And again, it's really nice that they release these content pieces as well, discussing either games in RSL or just sometimes other things, just StarCraft related as well. So really cool to hear from Ziggy, from Gemini, from Tasteless, and in the future, I'm sure we'll hear from State and from some of the others in Korea as well. Really cool. Really cool to hear. That leads us into the Warrior TV European League 2025. That leads us into our next big event. Here we have yet to conclude the event, I should emphasize, but it's a really insane group stage. So, Swiss format group stage here. A lot of matches have been unfolding throughout the course of the past week, and we still have more matches to come. Many more. Quickly going over some of the highlights, or at least some of the rankings here. We have Gabe so far undefeated. Gabe takes down Björn, Harsum, Goblin, and Hydra. Skilless also undefeated, takes down Mixu, Percival, and Ubu Thermal. Once again, great to see Thermal taking part in other tournaments. Thermal, he has been much more active recently, competing in these online tournaments. Really cool to see Thermal once again have that competitive drive to compete once more. Seamus just below them. Seamus takes down Young Yakov, Scarlet, Nickrat, but does lose the Harsum. We have Björn taking down Knife Phoenix, Jumi, Euthermal, but also losing the Gabe. We have Harsum looking strong. Harsum takes down Maxfax. Oh my god, big win for Harsum. Takes down Maxfax, Seamus, Geralt, but does fall to Gabe. Meanwhile, Maxfax, the only loss that he has so far is Harsum as well, and still many more matches to come. So again, it's quite daunting to go through when it comes to this big, massive group Swiss format. Best of luck to Wardy, of course, he's covering the event, and this event will continue later on tonight, coming into tomorrow as well, and next week. So still plenty more to come for the European League, not just the group stage, but also the playoff bracket as well. And we'll keep you guys updated on the European League. Again, it's really cool to see that Wardy has been organizing these events for the European region, for the Korean region as well, doing what he can, doing his parts for the player base for said regions. So really cool to see. GG, well played. Once again, it's really exciting to see more of Euthermal. More Euthermal in these tournaments. Likewise, a really good showing from Hero Marine. I know that Gabe, he often isn't really active in these online tournaments either, so cool to see more of Gabe, and also giving the opportunity for some of these other players. Also, I just realized it's European League, but Björn is also competing. That's true. Björn is also there as well. I just realized the only other Korean outside of Percival. He's also competing there as well. So really cool to see. I believe that
we also have another European Scarlet.
Oh yeah, we have Scarlet as well. Also European. Also, everyone knows Canada's in Europe, just like Korea. As that leads us into the Fusion Esports League at Krakow 2025 main event. First off, we have the qualifier number 3, which we have Cristiano winning. We did mention this earlier, how Cristiano, he had already qualified into the main event. We have the qualifier itself. Cristiano takes down Jumi, takes down Bappy, takes down Sebestas, purely PvPs. It was very close between Cristiano and Jumi. Could have gone either way, but Cristiano, he barely gets the win. And Cristiano, he does advance on into that main event. Oh boy. So GG well played. With that, we can go over the main event itself. we can go over the main events, and I believe we don't have the brackets yet, but we do have the confirmed players. So from the global invites, we have Clem, Euthermal, Lambo, and Rainer. We have our Zergs, we have our Terrans. From the qualifiers and from the Polish invites, we have Geralt from the Polish invites alongside a Laser, so we had a Protoss and Zerg. From the qualifiers, we had Christiana, Mana, Skillus, SOS, and Spirit, and we also had Art making it through the Polish Championship. So we had plenty of Protoss, we got a handful of Terran and Zerg as well, so a nice race distribution all around. We have a lot of Polish representation. What I find interesting is that a lot of Polish players made it through the open qualifiers. You know, they not like they were just invited in. Some of them were, but most of them made it through the qualifiers instead. They earned their spots. Shout out to SOS for also competing, for also going through the open qualifiers and representing Streamer Zone. And I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons why Streamer Zone got involved. They have Geralt and SOS taking part in this tournament. So Streamer Zone, they stepped in and they boosted the prize pool. It was announced recently that they did boost the prize pool for this tournament. They're now going to be a main sponsor for the Fusion Esports League 2025 Krakow Tournament 2025, and now the prize pool is up to $10,000. It was at $8,000, now boosted by 2K for a total of 10,000 USD. So big sponsorship there from Streamer Zone. Really cool to see them supporting more StarCraft events. We already heard that they have plans to run their own tournaments, even offline tournaments or offline tournament as well. Like they have the plans for an entire league. We don't really have details yet, but once again, the owner of Streamer Zone is very passionate regarding StarCraft and has been doing whatever he can, whenever he can, in regards to supporting players, running their own tournaments, and sponsoring other tournaments as well. So much love to the owner of Streamer Zone. Much love. GG. GG, well played. That leads us here into the EWC, the Esports World Cup 2025. We finally have the groups announced. The groups, the play-in stage as well. We have our lineups, we have our upcoming matches, and it's gonna be intense. Oh boy. We have the play-in stage. The play-in stage here, we have Estrella, Björn, Lambo, and Big Gabe. These are the players that did barely make it through those qualifiers, and they have to make it through essentially another qualifier. So Estrella, Björn, Lambo, here Marine. Two of them will make it through this bracket to make it into the group stage. Coming into this, who do we favor? Who do we favor to make it through this group stage? A lot of it depends on some of these matches here. I'll be honest, I can see Estrella beating both Björn and Gabe. Like Estrella, specifically, his PvT is his strongest matchup. He's looking terrifying in PvT. I do think that his weakest matchup is PvZ. So if there's a scenario where Björn beats Estrella, Gabe beats Lambo, and then we have Björn versus Gabe in the qualifying match, and if we have Lambo versus Estrella in the lower elimination match, I can see Estrella losing there. I can see Estrella losing to Lambo if they do face off. If Estrella beats Björn, I can see Estrella beating Gabe, and then I can see Estrella making it through into the next round. Like, a lot of this is going to come down to who can beat who. I think a safe bet here is that Björn makes it through. I think regardless if he wins or loses against Estrella, I do favor him against everyone else there. So I do feel like Björn has this really strong chance to make it through the play-in stage. Coming in alongside Björn, who do I favor there? I think I lean towards Gabe. I do favor Gabe over Lambo. Like the series between Gabe and Lambo in the EU EWC qualifiers is still fresh in my mind. I still remember the game on Last Fantasy where Lambo went for the all-in and Gabe just completely hard shut him down. Like, hi. So Gabe is looking terrifying in that matchup. Best of luck to Lambo, of course, but yeah, I think for me, I'm still torn. I think I want to lean towards Björn and Gabe, but my heart says Björn and Estrella. It's hard to pick between the two of them. Again, best of luck to all the players. Best of luck to all the players involved. That leads us into the group stage, into Group A and Group B. We have, I should also emphasize, the two players that make it through the play-in stage, they're going to be facing off against Clem and Cyril. Clem and Cyril, they're the two players that they're going to face off against. So it's going to be difficult for anyone to make it through that play-in stage. Group A, we have Clem, Solar, Zaun, Shin, Rainer, Trigger, and Maru. And it looks like from these initial 8 players, 4 of them will make it through each group. So 4 out of Group A, 4 out of Group B. Likewise, Group B, we have Hero, Lancer, Cure, Showtime, Classic, Rogue, Serral, and of course the play and stage player. These are going to be brutal. These are going to be brutal groups here. And again, it's going to be hard to call who's going to be favored to make it through. I think some clear favorites, of course, some clear standouts are Clem and Serral, right? Clem and Serral, they are beasts, and I feel like, should be favored to make it through into the playoffs, into that final day of StarCraft. So we're leaning towards Clem, leaning towards Serral. If I were to hazard a guess here in regards to Group A, I would lean towards... Who do I lean towards? I'm going to say Clem and Shin and Bjorn, if Bjorn makes it through. If Bjorn ends up in Group A, I'm going to say Clem, Bjorn, Raynor, maybe Raynor and Shin. Maybe. I think that might be my top 4 making it through. It's hard to say. Maybe I'm underrating Solar. Like, again, we've been seeing less of Solar recently, so it's hard to exactly put a pin on Solar. Like, you can never count him out. Zaun as well has also been improving a lot recently, especially in his performance in Star Zagora and in Home Story Cup. True. Like, Zaun has been improving a lot. Maru, he's still been underperforming. Like, I know that Maru, he won DreamHack Dallas, but if you watch those games and if you watched Maru at GSL as well, like, I haven't been too impressed with Maru's performances and his play specifically and his builds. He's been very all-in, very aggressive, very all-in, and he kind of got hard count. Like, I was very impressed by Solar in GSL, just hard countering Maru as Maru was trying to go for just non-stop A-Raxes and was shut down by Solar. So I do think that you can prepare against someone like Maru, and yeah, it's going to be a hard one to call. Group B might be a little bit more clear cuts. Classic has been on fire, of course. Serral has been looking very strong. Showtime has been impressing. Hero, I still rate him quite highly. I mentioned earlier, if you remember, Hero right now, where Hero has been struggling is PvZ. I don't see that many Zerg players here. I mean, of course, there's Rogue and Serral, but there's a world out there where Hero avoids both of them. He could avoid Rogue and Serral in this group and make it through over Lancer, over Cure and Showtime. Like, I can see that being a more likely outcome for Hero. So I do think that Hero lucked out. he avoided the big Zerg players, whereas currently that's a matchup where he's been struggling, and I can see him making it through into the playoffs as well. So, yeah, best of luck. Best of luck to all those involved. I can see a world where Classic takes down Rogue and Classic takes down Serral. If you remember, Classic infamously took down Serral at DreamHack Dallas. Like, Classic has some killer PvZ, especially late game PvZ as well. So Classic is going to be another big name. Yeah, I mean, the more that I look at it, actually, the more I feel like Group A and B are a little bit more clear cuts there in regards to, like, how some of these brackets are going to pan out and who can exactly make it through. Regardless, it's going to be a very intense tournament, and yeah, I'm curious, Kuro, who do you think will eventually make it through? Who do you think are the big names? Maybe that's a little bit easier. Who do you think are the big names to look for to win the entire tournament? Who are your picks?
That's easier.
I mean, I'm narrowing it down for you.
I mean, Classic has been really good. Like, he's been making rounds in different tournaments, so Classic definitely has big chances there. But the thing is that we say Classic because we see him play, but like someone like Serral doesn't really play in anything. So like, you have no idea in what kind of shape he's gonna show up to the tournament because you don't see him play other than, you know, in these big tournaments. So like, Serral is always a favorite because he's Serral. Hero also has been kinda missing right now because he's also preparing for the tournament. So like, it all depends like what shape they will be in when they're at the tournament. I don't know if Clem can repeat his championship. I feel like it will be very hard for him to repeat the win. Other than that, I don't get the players, and I don't know. I think outside of Clem, who, as I said, like, it will be hard for him, but it's possible. I think the favorites would be like Classic, Serral, maybe Hero for the champion.
Who do you want to win?
Is that a tricky question?
Lock it in, Copa. Lock it in.
I mean, look, I will always cheer for Hero to win it all, obviously, you know. But the thing is, look, I like a lot of these players, most of these players, if not all of them. So I want all of them to do well, and we'll see how it goes. Look,
okay, so Hero.
Yeah, Hero. No, but the thing is, we are at the point in the sea where like we know most of these players pretty well. So like it's not like, oh, this is like my favorite player, and this I don't like you pretty much know everyone. Like you know, it's one community. So like you want all of them to do well, and we see who's the best.
For sure. Yeah, as you mentioned, I think those are like the obvious picks for like who has like the best chance to win this would be like Clem, Serral, Classic, Hero. Like 100%, like those are like the top four in my mind as well, who would be like the champion, who'd be the winner. In my mind, I think Clem is still favored to win everything. What I will say, because we cast a lot of Clem. Like Clem is one of those players that plays in everything, so we more or less know like where his strengths lie, where his weaknesses lie. I would say that right now he's been struggling a little bit more in TVP. I would say that Clem has the best TVP in the world, but he's still been struggling in it, is what I will say. Like, we've been seeing him bleed out and lose series to Max Packs a little bit more as of late. Classic, of course, Hero, Showtime, he just beat Clem as well in this week's tournaments. Like, we've seen a lot of these Protoss players actually beat Clem as of late. So it does feel like that's a weak point right now. I think his TVZ is very strong right now. It's very strong, and I have a hard time seeing anyone here beating him in TVZ. I know that Serral and Clem had a really close back and forth in Stars Agora, so I know that they had a close back and forth. Clem still was able to take it, but Serral, he was definitely like a strong contender there, and they had that back and forth. So that would be a really cool match to see once again. And any Terran threat here to Clem. I mean, he's been playing Protoss, and he's been looking pretty good. I mean, he beat Cure. He beat Cure at RSL with his Protoss. Like, also, Clem has some of the best PvT.
Aista mentioned in the chat, imagine if Showtime takes it off.
Showtime has been looking really good as of late.
He has been looking really good, but that good?
I think... So, for me, Clem's weakest matchup right now is TVP. For me, Showtime's weakest matchup right now is PVZ. I can see Showtime beating the Protosses. I can see him beating even Clem. I can see him beating the Terrans. I have a hard time seeing Showtime beating Raynor or Serral. I think if he meets a Zerg player, I think that's where Showtime struggles a little bit more. That's my only concern for Showtime. Like, I'm not too convinced by his PVZ. I think the latest example of his PVZ is if you watch Showtime versus Raynor at the EWC European qualifiers. You'll know that was a close series, as in score-wise that was close. But if you remember how that series went, Showtime glaive adapted Raynor like 3 games in a row. And eventually Raynor caught on, and he started playing safe, and the glaive stopped working. And then Showtime lost the series. And it was like a best of 7. Like, it was a long series as well. Like, it was a lot of games. And Showtime was cheesing the hell out of Raynor.
My favorite part of this series is when Showtime himself said that he ran out of builds.
Yeah. He said that eventually I just ran out of glaive builds, so I didn't know what to do. Like, he himself kind of ran out of how to deal with Raynor. So like, that's my big concern for Showtime is a Zerg opponent. Against everyone else, I can see Showtime winning for sure. Like, against any other Protoss and any other Terran here, like, I can see Showtime winning those matches. But I do think that his PVZ is lacking at the moment. That's like the difference between Showtime and Classic, whereas Classic, I feel like he's thriving a lot more in PVZ. I feel like Showtime is struggling in that matchup. Hero is also struggling in that matchup as well. I think this is also why a lot of people are looking really highly upon Classic, just because of his current form in PVZ and PVT. Like, he's been looking more impressive than the other Protosses. He's been looking more impressive than Showtime, more impressive than Hero, specifically in those matchups. So yeah. I think Classic has a really good shot, actually. Again, a lot of it depends on the playoff bracket, like on who's playing against who, on where everyone is. Because if certain players can avoid certain players, then I can see them popping off, and I can see them having deeper runs and winning everything. So there's going to be that bit of like an RNG factor involved in regards to how the playoffs are seeded and what the quarterfinals will end up looking like. But it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting to see in a week's time. Okay, so you locked in Hero for who you want to see win. I would love to see It's hard to say. I would love to see an underdog win. Someone coming out of left field. It's just hard to see that happening. Like we haven't seen much from Trigger recently. Shin.
Shin could do it.
True.
Shin does pop off sometimes.
Yeah, he can pop off. He can pop off as well. I think Shin has to avoid Clem. Like I know that Shin beat Clem recently. He beat him at DreamHack Dallas. But again, as I mentioned, if you recall, that was just because Shin was playing a style that Clem wasn't really ready for and Clem wasn't expecting. And Clem, from what it looks like in the RSL matches, again, it depends. Like, I have to watch the RSL matches. But if Shin was still playing that same style of Roshan to Ultra, and if Clem had figured that out, then that's where I favor Clem over Shin. So it depends what he's been cooking. What has he been cooking? We'll see. But yeah, I'd love to see Shin win. I'd be very happy. He's a nice guy. Nice guy. That's my heart pick, Shin. Otherwise, I'm leaning towards like Clem or Classic or Hero. But yeah. Regardless, again, that's going to be next week. Next week's EWC is, of course, right around the corner, and we're going to be all over that. And yeah, look forward to it. Look forward to the Esports World Cup. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be exciting, and we'll see how far some of these players can go. Something that I will add on as well is that I had assumed that by now Australia would have been picked up. I would have assumed Australia, technically, he's a part of EWC. I believe him even playing in the play-in stage, I believe that does qualify him for the club bonus, for the membership bonus. So I'm a little bit shocked here that no one has picked him up. And I'd be very surprised if we go into EWC without a single team on Australia, because I feel like that's just free money. Like, unless I'm mistaken, unless the play-in stage doesn't count, that might be the case. But if it does count as being a part of Esports World Cup, then it is shocking to me that we haven't seen like Cloud9 pick up Australia or one of these other like big teams, because I'm sure Australia would be receptive of that. So yeah, it's surprising to me for sure.
You say that, but I think the transfer window might have closed. I don't know if they are able to pick up players anymore.
That's a shame. If there is a transfer window where teams are allowed to pick up players, that is a really big shame, because that hurts Australia more than anything. Because one, no teams believed in him enough to pick him up ahead of time to get ready for EWC, and now that he qualified, then it might be too late for teams to pick him up. So he just misses out on the salary. Like, so that hurts Australia more than anyone, and that is a shame if that's the case. Again, I'm not too familiar with what the transfer window is, but yeah, if it's closed, then Australia, he's punished the most for that. So feels bad, man. feels bad, man, for Australia. Again, for those that don't recall, he was on Virtus Pro. He was on Virtus Pro for last year's EWC. And then he was let go, and they picked up Classic. I mean, Classic, he's been doing really well as of late, but, you know, Australia, he's still qualified, though. He's still qualified for EWC. So it was still a worthwhile player to have invested into. So that would be a shame. Well, that is a shame, I should say. Is a shame. Quickly recruiting for the Ducklings. True. But, Gabe over Lambo is bold. Gabe over Lambo is just based on their previous result. I mean, But yeah, with that, we are going to be wrapping up, I suppose. With that, again, a bit of a shorter podcast here, but that's also because we have OSC King of the Hill in 1 hour's time. And again, there's a lot to discuss in regards to the SE Evo upcoming patch and also the proposed balance changes as well from a bunch of different community members. But we will keep that and hold on to that for the next podcast. If we can somehow squeeze it in over next week, then we will try, but we don't really have any kind of free slots available, unfortunately. So we might just have a big jam-packed podcast on the 31st, which would be crazy. But we'll do our best.
Get your snacks ready. We'll be there for like 10 hours.
Exactly. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for watching. We do appreciate it. Again, a bit of a more slimmed down edition of the podcast this week. But again, we're going to be live once again in 1 hour's time with OSC King of the Hill, number 218. So we'll see you soon for our next broadcast in an hour's time. Otherwise, hope you'll enjoy yourselves. Hope you'll had a great time just catching up in the chat. Just catching up. But otherwise... yeah, thanks for watching. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much to Kuro as well for, of course, being the production behind the scenes to make sure this all runs smoothly. If you want to tune into more, or if you want to take part in some of these tournaments, !signups in the chat to gain access to the sign-up list, which is updated on a regular basis to showcase and to be able to be a part of all of these tournaments. Likewise, Patreon as well. We'll give you a link to our Patreon that does fund our tournaments. It funds Sparkling Tunic Up, Duckling Open, and Master Sword Open as well. It is all funded via Patreon. And again, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the next podcast. The reason why we're not coming back next week is because EWC is gonna last a week. We have non-stop EWC, and there's actually no free time slot for a podcast unless we do a podcast. No, I was gonna say after EWC, like after an EWC broadcast, but those are gonna be lasting a long time as well. Those are gonna be long broadcasts. So currently there's no free slot available. Maybe after MSO, that might be the best option actually. Like after Master Swan Open, potentially. What do you think, Cooper?
We will talk about this later. I will not be setting schedule on stream.
No. No. Yeah, 31st. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, we'll see you guys in an hour's time for our next broadcast for OC King of the Hill. Otherwise, see you next time. Ciao, papi, ciao. Hasta luego. See you next time.